Welcome to our third Lunch and Learn for this semester. Dr. Kevin Crambiel is going to be presenting video editing that you can use in the classroom. So thank you for coming, and I'll turn it over to Kevin.
Thanks, Nancy. Well, welcome to our crew that's here. So I like videos, use it a lot, and so these are a couple things I've been using a lot over the last few years in a variety of different places. Actually, a lot of it, quite frankly, is Sunday school related, but they're fairly easy to use, and so that's one of the reasons why I'm going to highlight them. I'm going to walk through a couple of different things and hopefully give you tons of time for play rather than a lot of actual info walking through it. As anyone that's heard me speak on technology or been on these series, the great deal of learning how to use it comes from playing with the stuff. So getting in there and doing it. But I'll give you kind of a walkthrough overview and a few examples of products that have come out of each one of them so you have a sample of what they look like. So anyway, overview for the day here. Again, we're going to open up just kind of looking at these different tools that are there and maybe walk through some of the tactics to go about doing them successfully. And then lastly, so two of them we're going to focus in on specifically different ways to kind of create or edit videos. And so that's going to be a focus number one there. There's two different tools, one free, that's Microsoft Expressions Encoder, E-N-C-O-D-E-R. So if you're on a non-Mac computer and you want to download it, it's free. You can Google it, you'll find it real quick. Later on, I have a link embedded in here where you can click and follow too. But that's a free one. I'm going to go through some of the benefits and just drawbacks of it as opposed to Camtasia, which is a paid thing, which has much more power. But again, bottom line is you pay for it. So you can weigh those two out. So those are two really for creating videos or editing. And I'd consider it probably more heavily on editing than creating. And so far as creating, I use it in the context of like screencasts. And so that'd be the primary ways for that. The second thing though is then saying, so once you've got these different videos, how do you embed them and use them in a classroom? Or for example, if you're doing online or web assisted things, can I dump videos up? And then how do I know students watch them? Because again, a lot of times if I click a video, it tells me I watched it. And that doesn't give me any good, meaningful information as an instructor to figure out whether or not they understood anything from it, or if they just pushed play and left the room, or if they just opened the file and computers can't track all that. So anyway, this last one's a free website where you can go take a whole bunch of different sites that have active line videos, and you can embed in them questions so that your students, they can't skip to the end because it has to stop at each one of these questions and they have to answer the question before they can proceed. And so it's a way you can build assessments into a video, which you don't end up editing at all, or you can marry the two things. You can make your own videos, dump them up onto YouTube, and then embed an Edpuzzle video too. So anyway, for what it's worth, Edpuzzle is used more so at the K-12 level, and so you actually see it's compatible with a lot of the Google Classroom things where you can embed it in there. I don't know, quite frankly, with D2L. I've never used it there. But it'll give you HTML codes so you can embed it on site. So you probably can embed it right into D2L, but to be fair, I have not done it. So anyway, that's the quick overview. And as I said, really, I don't think we'll spend a whole lot of time walking through it. I want to talk about some of the basics and nuts and bolts so you're equipped to play. But then I want most of the time to be playtime for those who are able to download. And if not, I've got an extra device for those that can as well that'll have both Camtasia and Expressions Encoder. So with that said here, again, we've kind of already walked through some of this, but just highlight a few things just running through it. So as I mentioned, I think a few of these are particularly helpful for screencasts, which I have found helpful for those when you teach online hybrid web assisted classes. And so if you've got anything like that, or if you're just teaching and you want to have videos available, so for our students in our program, they're all practicing educators. In fact, everyone in the room here knows that. And so their statistics are scary for them. And so I've built a bunch of videos that are just available for them to watch throughout the classes. And then also just up on a shell where they can just kind of a quick refresher on different statistical things they may not be familiar with or may not be comfortable with, whereas they're reading an article and they just kind of skim over the entire section because it says, a quantitative analysis. And so they say, I'll just go to see what this guy says. But the problem is then you're taking them at their word. So anyway, built some of that way. But again, they're also really kind of good tools for, as I mentioned here, with the screencast. So you can have like PowerPoints and just literally animate yourself doing them. So if you've seen those things online where you can animate PowerPoints that you walk through, you just run it like you're running a live session, and you can record your screen. You can add and embed different things. So again, they really are well designed for the online setting, for the web-assisted hybrid setting, or you can embed them in weekends or in your classroom setting as it makes sense. So with that said, again, I also love video clips, but I do not like most video clips on YouTube because they're not edited for me. So often they're too long. I know that I'm always a little driven a little crazy when students or anyone will use a video in a presentation and it's 25 minutes long, and it needed about a minute and a half of it. And so with these things, you can edit and get only the part you want immediately and keep the same quality. So really cool for those purposes. And again, that's really the crux of what I want to get out of this. So through creating your own kind of customized content, short video clips or something along the lines, or editing and manipulating different videos that are out there, you can use that to enhance what you do in your classroom. So a quick little walkthrough of these two different creation ones. So you may want to glance up here for this. So Expressions Encoder is our free one. Camtasia is our cost money one. And as I mentioned here, I do know that this can be approved to be embedded on your work computer because I've had it done. And as I said, I don't actually know what the end up cost, who absorbed that. But nonetheless, it's on mine per a request. That was all I had to do. So my suspicion is that's available to all faculty. You can make that request.
Who did you make the request to?
When I had new computer come in, I said I would like this software installed. And that was, so Stephen James was the conduit through which it was in our house.
Is there any difference in quality of the two?
Yep, and we'll get to that a little bit there. They do the same thing. This one has a way more functional ability and is much more power. That's the bottom line behind it there. So Camtasia certainly, if you're going to spend a lot of time doing videos, probably makes better sense. But the other one can, if you're just going to just dabble with it and just kind of use it primarily for maybe screen, like if you're doing it for like slideshows, your PowerPoints, I'd go with this one and save yourself the money because you don't want them to be long anyway. One of the major limitations is this one will not allow you to go over 10 minutes. As far as I'm concerned, good. You know, the videos that are, whatever they say, attention spans about your age, and it maxes out at 18. So about 18 minutes is the max you ever want anyway. 10 minutes, great. Forces you to keep short. Camtasia will record as long as you want. You record a whole movie. That's the major negative. Then there's also less flexibility in terms of how you can overlay content on top of one another. And I'll kind of try to walk through some of those things. But again, the bottom line is Camtasia has much more functionality. If you're going to go into this and spend a lot of time with it, it's worth it. If you're just going to kind of dabble with it, you really want to use this to make little video clips of maybe your screen of your slideshows or just smaller video clips you're going to use, I think Encoder will work just fine for you. So good question, Donald.
Do you know anything about the user friendliness? Like when your students are using it, is one better for them to be able to have access to?
Again, that one's actually going to be easier, quite frankly. It has more functionality. It's also a little easier to play with because there's more things you can do. So, and again,
I guess I'm talking about more from the students. Like when students see, like when I put it on D2L.
Right. No difference at all. What I do with both of them when I'm done is you'll take your finished product and I export it as an MP4. It's a video, and so they're exactly their equivalent output. And you can of course change it AVI or whatever other format you want, but you turn them. What they do is they just make a video at the end. So the output is a video, and you do have to export it to a different type of file if you want anyone to be able to view it. Otherwise, they can only view it in this or in this. But it's a really easy as a click, is where you just kind of click and say, save as local file and assign it as an MP4 or whatever you want. So they'll equivalent output, basically. Okay. So as I mentioned here, the major limitation that really comes up is that 10 minutes is your cap. That's this free version. There's a pay version, which probably has more. I didn't get the pay version because I just went with the free version, and then I've got the Camtasia now, so I don't really need the other one, but 10 minutes is the major limitation from it. It also actually has less editing tools, and so as I mentioned a minute ago, and maybe this language doesn't make sense, but in a few minutes we'll show a few slides to kind of show this, but you can kind of stack videos or images or other things on top of themselves so they're all in part and embedded. So again, this is the editing feature where I can edit a video and actually weave different pieces in together with one another. I can do less with this than I can with Camtasia. So you can, you just got more ability to really do something impressive. And again, the bottom line is if you're looking for highest quality and you're all in on this there, that's the zone you want to go into, Camtasia. But for the most part, I don't have tons of time for it, so I think this is, for the most part of what I do, this would do just fine. I'm excited with some of the functionality of Camtasia that I'm playing with a little more so now as I have it. So anyway, that's the quick comparison. Not a huge bit of difference in terms of the output, but in terms of the input, what goes in there. So I want to walk through each of these real quickly and just kind of show some screenshots for it. So here is an embedded link, and again, I'll share this file with Nancy and we'll dump it up online with the video, I believe. And so you can click and follow that link, and it'll take you right to a place where you can download this. It looks like a few testers earlier found that Macs does not look like immediate compatibility. So for what that's worth, if you're working on a Mac, this one's probably not the way to go, but there's all sorts of free websites that can do a roughly equivalent thing like Jing.com. Screencast-O-Matic, I believe, is one. It's an app. So there's a variety of other things you could use, and maybe you can shoot me an email. I can point you to some of those. But again, free download. You need to have some playtime, and this one, I think, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, when I think was confused on a response, is actually a little harder to use than Camtasia because of some of its lack of functions. So with that said, when you get this thing installed on your computer, basically you open it up and you'll come up with this sort of screenshot. So you can see here, actually, I've got a whole bunch of old screen captures and a newer one. But when you open up Encoder, it comes up with this. And so here are your different buttons up top. One, if this one's not activated, it's not listening to you. And so if you actually want them to listen to you, you're going to record and you're going to be talking and you want that to listen to pick up the audio in your room, that needs to be there. If not, it's going to pick up the audio embedded on your computer. And so noting that right away there, you can pick that one there. You can also do your webcam, so you can have that set up. Mine doesn't, because this is on my desktop, which doesn't have a cool cam. But on my laptop it does, and so you can get your screencast, like your picture in the corner as well if you wanted. Settings and options are just right there and there. We won't go into too many of those, but we have some playtime. We can open up some of those. You can see some of the different things that are available. And then our big buttons are record key. And so I don't know if you're all familiar with it, so I won't assume that. On most computers, there's a little snip tool or something like that where you can open it up, and basically then you'll just take and make a little box, and it will capture that picture as an image. That's basically, when you click this, it says, what do you want me to record? And you pick the area of the screen. So if you only want to record this part of the screen, and you want to be playing things over here and dragging it in during the recording, you sure can, and it's going to record nothing that's happening out here. So if you've got a variety of things you want to bring in and use them up there, you just have your recording set up. Or if you've got dual screens, which a lot of the offices do, you can record one screen, everything else on the other, and just drag it over when you want it. So when you bring up that record button, it's going to say where do you want to record, and you just drag and shape it however you want. It's going to be a rectangle or a square somehow. But besides from that, you've got a lot of ability to manipulate it. Then you put it on there, and again, the limit, as I said there, so if you were going to do this, and again, later on during our playtime, I'll show you on that one. I'll just bring it out and show what this looks like. But you put it on there, push record, it'll do 3, 2, 1, and then it starts. And so then it'll just capture whatever's in that box during that time frame, and if it's picking up your audio or the computer audio, depending on what you want from that. So
Will that red button with the microphone, will that be computer and your voice? Does it do both, or is it one or the other, or?
Great question. My first initial thought is I think it's actually either or, because it's one or the other, and this is where you would layer things. And so you would make a video which is drawn solely from what's on the computer audio, and then you might have a second audio that you layer on top of that, and then you choose which one you want to prioritize. You can actually mute them. That comes in the After Effects, in the editing time, and again, that's where it gets a little more complicated. And so you got to decide if you want to dabble with that too much. Camtasia actually gives both for you right away. But I'll plead the fifth on that in case I'm wrong. I think that's the case though. So when you're done recording, and so it runs out, it says, as I said, 10 minutes is the max. So if you hit 10 minutes, it will stop and immediately shoot you out a screen that says, well, it basically comes back to this. So this is kind of your initial screen, and then also it comes back to this, and then you push down here, send to encoder. And so when you send it to encoder, it's going to shoot out this, and you'll notice this looks like it's incomplete video. That's because it's zoomed in. So I took a screenshot. I should have shrunk that back out later, but you'll see a little manipulation of it later on. And so this is then your system you have to work with. And so again, here's some of the functional tools. So you'll notice down here, here's the media content. So my first one is a screen capture, and it shows right there. If I embedded other ones, they would show it below it. And all of those then go on this timeline. And this timeline, you'll notice here, I don't know if you notice actually, it's 1 minute, 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. That actually goes on. So you actually have to drag across this way for the entirety of the video, because you can edit by the second, by the moment from that. So it just works some working around from that. If you want to embed multiple files, there's a variety of ways you can do it. You can just add them right there, and they'll stack them next to each other, one after the other. Here, if you want to embed it in the middle of it, so maybe after 3 seconds of this, you embed one right in there. And there's, again, a lot of manipulation that you can do with that. This one has a little less functionality than it. But the long story short is each time it pops out, it'll shoot up, and then you can then push this play button to get a preview. So it'll always show you what you've got your edited work in process. And then when you like what you have at the end, you'll actually go up and you can export it. What was I going to highlight next? So that's the quick screenshot overview. And again, we have some playtime. I'll open up on my actual computer and we can gather around since we've got a smaller crew and kind of work off of it and play with it together. But you want to go in here, you'll see now in this case I've embedded actually an image on top of this just to kind of showcase again some of the things that you can do. So there's a lot of things you can play with. You can embed different videos at different times, or you can actually embed pictures on top of videos or other items, and again Camtasia will do that same thing. So we'll see some of the different functionality from that. But then ultimately what you do is you kind of go in here. What I did is under timeline I did add visual overlay, and so I had this visual overlay again just to illustrate this. In this case I guess as a student was watching this, the background's no good, so I wouldn't edit it. It's going to be embedding always from a file. So is there an immediate draw feature? No, not necessarily on Coder. So that's a good question for it there. The Camtasia does have that and some other embedded things, as well as actually some of those the websites I mentioned, Jing and Screencast-O-Matic. You can almost treat it like it's a live broadcast sort of thing. This one, your mouse will show, and if you want to draw on that there, you sure could there, but that would be something you'd capture before it's actually in here. Does that make sense? Okay. So anyway, that's just kind of the walkthrough of that. And again, I think when we had a chance to actually get in and work on the computer, we'll kind of run through a little more of that. But recording is literally it just records whatever's on the screen and then it spits in here, and then you have your play. And then this is where you're going to play with it. So yeah, you can check out all the different tools that are available to enhance the content, actually sometimes detract from the content depending on what you put in there for that. And we'll see an example of this in a moment. Anyway, that's the fast crash course of it. I guess I didn't get a screen capture or picture shot of this. But when you are done, down here there's this button that says encode. And so when you've done edit it and it's the way you want to look, it's got it may just be all I wanted was this little 2-minute video clip of a 30-minute YouTube video, and I just got 2 minutes. And I just pop it in here. And I've got nothing else I need to do except for push encode. When you encode it, it'll then save it as a file, and then you can export it as a MP4.
And then it's no longer editable.
Once you encode it, it's no longer. It saves as a project from Encoder first. Once you export it and it becomes an MP4, then it loses its functionality that way. It still, however, is openable as the project, which you can manipulate. So you still can manipulate it, and then you'll also have the final product that's out there that you can then publish and put up on YouTube, or you can embed. Again, MP4s will go anywhere, so you can embed them right on D2L. So again, that's a fast crash course on the walkthrough, but I think actually when we grab a computer and we're doing this together, it'll make a little more of the time to do that because it's not actually on this one right here. So.
Can I ask you another quick question? The file size for the 10-minute, I guess it depends on how much layering you have.
Yeah, but it's actually not going to be big. I've never had one of those that's been larger than 25 megs, which is usually kind of our key number for D2L. So I'd say generally they stay pretty small. Good question. And that's mostly because, quite frankly, the primary thing is the 10-minute limit. So, and then this was just a quick little example that was made from this, which again, as I mentioned, was literally just, a lot of times I use this just for the sole purposes of screencasts. And so this is just a video we made for some of our students, which I'm going to leave this real quick here because I embedded this in a way that's kind of funky and I want to play it, not show the whole video. So again, it's just showing me, I got my slides. You can see it'll track my mouse or whatever I'm doing there for it. Oh, near it. No, you can't see. That's awesome. Okay, well on this screen, we'll show it later. And on your downloaded video, you guys can see it. But it's not going to show it here, so we won't know. When we bump out, it bumps out because it's in presentation view. So I'm not exactly certain how to go away from. Well, we're not going to try to manipulate how to walk around presentation view right now. But if I change it from that, I think that's the way we can fix that. So anyway, I'll show that little video a little later on. But again, all I did was that one is I just tried to used Encoder for the purpose of just walking through a slideshow that I could dump up online for students. Make it really easy. It's helpful for them for reviewing for stuff as well as later. I think I mentioned a long time way back for, I think many of you may have been there when I did Nearpod. I flipped a class a long time ago. Nobody watched my videos, and so keep that in mind. If you're going to use them as an entire instructional tool, add in some assessment piece for it. So we'll throw that in there. Well,
that's really what I'm wanting to know because we've done that some in Residency 1, and they haven't watched it. So then they weren't ready for class.
Yep, that's exactly what happened to me. Backfired. It made it worse. Again, I think you just change it and you say, fine, we'll have to read and react. We'll go with a little carrot stick approach. There's a quiz when you walk in based upon the video. Watch it. But then, how much time do we really save? I don't know. So, anyway, food for thought, but definitely an issue with it. So, Encoder, free, less tools. Let's walk through Camtasia. And my slides are there for it. So Camtasia, again, just when you open it up, just like the other one had that little screen that came up, there's a couple of different options there. New project. If you do new project, it's going to open right up into this area. So it'll open up into actually Camtasia. And you can see here's the media bin where you can import all the media on your computer. And then you just drag them down here. So again, this becomes that place where you can stack the tracks. They call them tracks.
So when you say media, you mean you're talking music, you're talking photos, whatever.
Yep, and this one has a ton more tools here. So the media, it talks about all the different examples right there, images, audio, videos, but then also you can embed, and I'll show an example I just made earlier this morning, so it's not awesome, but you can see you can immediately annotate live during the video and have things pop up for animations and things along those lines. So I've done annotations in the video that I would use then to stop and pause and have conversation with the students. It was like a way to embed questions for it there. You can actually embed questions directly into your videos that you make here on Camtasia, which is what you do in Edpuzzle. So that's actually a new feature that they didn't have 2.5 years ago or 3.5 years ago at this point when I used to use it, that they've added, or I was completely unaware of it at that time. So anyway, there's some other things there, but there are a ton of different tools you can play with here. And again, that's something I have on that laptop, which I'll pull out and we can play with a little later on. But all of these are your different tools. Before, all you had was video, and you could layer videos. Here you can layer videos, you can edit right on them therefore. You can, just like the other one, you can still crop, but you can crop and have some more effects there. You can have animations where you zoom in and zoom out depending on what you want to look at. So there's a lot more power to this one. And again, quite frankly, I actually find it to be easier, even though there's more stuff to use. Usually you think that's overwhelming. I actually find it the opposite. I find this one a little easier to use than the other one. So that's our little video screenshot for this. If you go back here and you say, all right, so that was a new project. If I click new recording, it comes up with this sort of screen. And again, exactly just like what you got on Encoder. There's the red button. The red button's going to record. You're going to pick your screen. You'll notice you've got several options here. Full screen, custom, and if you click that little arrow there, and then you can do just like you do in the other one. You drag and drop, you make your box or your rectangle the size you want, so it will capture only that thing. Again, here you can then also have it record multiple layers, and they'll do them simultaneously. So the camera, the webcam if you've got one, audio on is going to be both you and then the computer. So it has a little more functionality with that. But again, click that, and then it's going to give you your screen for this. And so what I've done is I've shown here an image of just a little box that I made, and you'll notice here I'm just open up on YouTube, and I just grabbed that whole box from it there, and this is where I kind of checked the arrow select area to record, rather than just kind of, if you push custom, it's going to give you the preset custom one. So you actually, on this one, on Encoder, you automatically have to pick the box you want. So it's immediately more functional for that, because most of the time I don't want the full screen. So I actually am glad the other one does it, but here you actually have to tell it, I want to select the area to record. So again, that's some of the differences on Camtasia and how that looks, but again, once you get in, then you've got all these different tools. It layers and stacks these video parts on top of one another, and then you can set them up. Again, it has a timeline right here where you can choose which one's prioritized, which one becomes the focal point, which one's audio coming through, and that's, again, when we get to play, we'll actually play through some of that stuff a little more. So this was, I just highlighted this one thing which I played a little bit with today here. So these animations or annotations, you can just embed little commentary in the middle of a video, which then you can use for conversation, which again in a moment here I'll kind of show this quick little video clip, which includes a couple of those, and we'll stop it there.
How do I know? A lot of people, when they think of the phrase, how do I know, they always want to put the what behind it. How do I know what I'm supposed to do? The question that you really should ask is, how do I know why I'm here?
So notice that little thing popped up. That was just something I embedded in there. And again, nothing too amazing, nothing too special, but you can embed those sorts of things if you want to. You could pause and have a conversation with your students. Or again, later on, if you embed the actual questions, you could actually have them respond directly to that question, and then you collect the information. So we'll continue on with that and show just a few others.
Here, because when you know your why, your what becomes more
Me zooming
clear,
in just to kind of show you can set the zoom in and out.
If you know, like for instance, people know that I do comedy, but that's what I do. My why is to inspire people to walk in purpose. So I can do comedy, I can write books.
Okay.
I can
I didn't do any more editing until the very end, and we're not going to watch 3 minutes of the video clip in a video. But again, you can see it has some manipulation tools, and that took all of 10 minutes to just making the few of the things there. Along with playing that in there, I had, I guess, 4 layers involved. I had the video, I had those little blurbs, the annotations, I guess they called them there. Also the zooming layer, because I zoomed in at certain times. When you do that, and again, I'll show a little bit later on, when you decide you want to zoom, what it automatically does is it sets it for a short time, and then you can stretch it, just drag it and make it last longer, so it'll stretch a longer period of time, or you can make it real fast and it'll go out and back. So again, it's very intuitive when you play with it, as opposed to expressions, it's not so much in Encoder.
And it's Edpuzzle that will allow you to embed the questions and the stopping.
And as I said, actually, quite frankly, this interactivity looks like you can embed questions here in Camtasia. I've never used it. From what I understood, it's the same sort of thing. So you may be able to do all of that in one with Camtasia. For me, on the other one there, a lot of times Edpuzzle, I like videos online, but I don't know if students are going to watch them. And my track record says that they didn't watch them very well, and it just led to worse. I was better off just lecturing than I was giving the videos out. This way I could force them to embed some, answer some questions before they came in. And so that's what we'll look at the last one. So this Edpuzzle, again, is basically just a website. I don't even know if they've made it as an app, to be honest, but if you have like an iPad or any of those devices, you can just make it a button on your desktop, and it becomes the same functionality as an app. You'll be able to create a free teacher account, and within the site it's pretty cool too, because you can build classes and assign things to classes, and it will give you a link so you can embed it in an email, or as I said, it speaks to a lot of the K-12 world. So if you have Google Classroom built, you can embed it directly into Google Classroom. I think you can do the same thing for some of the others of those sorts of platforms. I don't know about D2L.
So I'm thinking about within a classroom, students who have different abilities and assigning different questions to different groups or people. Mm-hmm. Is that possible?
It's a good question, and my initial answer is going to be only if you make multiple edited videos. And so I'll show you what that looks like. It's not too hard, but I think what you'd have to do, and you'd have to make several. It automatically comes with what's called a duplicate function. And so after I take a video, and again, a lot of times with this one, you take a already existent video, whether one I've built or one right off of YouTube or one of those different sites there, and then it will then import it into Edpuzzle, and you can edit questions. Once you've done that, and again, I'll show this, I'll actually pull this up on this computer, because this one will work, it's online. You can push a button just once I've built the questions that are going to go for everyone. I can push duplicate, and it'll make the exact same thing, and then I can just add newer questions and say whatever tier 2, tier 3, depending on what I want to do. So you'd have to create more, I think. Good question. So let's walk it through Edpuzzle. Again, there's the website address there, which if you want to open up on yours, you all could right now and just kind of get a free account available. It does have some new updates where you actually have to establish who your school is. That's pretty easy. It knows MTSU, so we passed the test. But again, the thing I like here is that you can actually embed assessments into them such that through watching yours, they can't even make it to the end of the video unless they answer your questions. And so Heather, unlike them showing up to class and not having watched it, I'll already know beforehand, because they couldn't have got to the end of the video to answer my question wherever it was embedded unless they watched it. So anyway, that's helpful. I'll show you some kind of the preview session where you don't have that capacity, but once you assign it, you can't fast forward or rewind. It stops automatically at the questions, and they have to respond. If they don't respond, it won't let them continue. So it's kind of cool tools built in. So this is just from their website, their own little sales pitch. But what's good about it there? What can you do with it? Well, you can crop the video. So if you find a video on YouTube, but you don't like the whole video, you just want to zoom in on a certain part, you can crop it and edit it just like that usual point. You don't need to actually take the full time length. If you don't want a 22-minute TED Talk, instead you just want 2.5 minutes where they're really on the zone, you can crop it time-wise as well as actually size-wise. You can add your voice. So that's inserting audio notes. And again, I'll show actually one example that will have that, and one example there'll just be some questions from that. But so you could, before even a video starts, they push play and they hear you. Here's what I want you to look for. And then the video will start. You can, and it doesn't show it here, audio notes, a recorder. You can also, instead of doing your voice, you can type it in. And so it'll stop the video and then your words will pop up in writing. So you could make it, I guess, compatible for those maybe with hearing impaired. But then again, you can embed questions, and I think that's, or quizzes, questions basically what they are, open-ended or multiple choice, sort of select the response. And again, very simple to use and embed in there. It does take some playtime, and depending upon your functionality of your computer. So for example, I was playing with this earlier today just to get myself reminded of some of the tools that I haven't used for a while. My computer in the room doesn't have a microphone. And so it had a hard time recognizing things. I plugged in a thing and it still didn't do that. So you need to make sure some of those things are recognized maybe before you go in and it works a little better. But again, you'll see a couple of examples of things I made from there. It also allows you to, within Edpuzzle, search within there. So you don't need to go to YouTube and then find the link. You can search right on there, and it searches through YouTube, through all these different other ones. And we'll show in a minute here. And I'll show you some of these a little later on. But a couple of examples.
Will it take PowerPoint? Could you upload?
It works off of videos. And so for instance, if I made a video before with encoder of a PowerPoint, I could use that one. So with that said, once you come in here, then you create your content. These are your videos, which are your little interactive videos with the quiz questions. I've got just 4 examples here. We'll look at these latter 2 because I was able to play with them a little more. Well, they're shorter, so they're fast, easy, quick ones. But when you come over here again, you can see under create, you can create a new video, you can upload a video, so I can jump that one if I had there for it. Students project, actually I haven't done that one at all. You can create folders, so you can dump these things into different classes, and you can actually build classes, as I said, and actually add students' email addresses, so it'll shoot out to them through this. And it's designed that you can use this as a, just like most of these things, they try to make it so the teachers can use it as a one-size-fits-all.
I'm in Edpuzzle. I've created an account, and I went to content and I searched. And so, for example, what I'm thinking for my teacher candidates is I teach them different instructional strategies, and sometimes there are little videos for that. So I just put in Jigsaw, and I have all these videos, but did these come from YouTube, or these were already in Edpuzzle?
They're actually, there should be, I think, there's a whole bunch of different things you can search through. So you can actually search through, and again, we'll pull this up in a minute here, but you can actually search through YouTube, you can search through Edpuzzle. There should be a whole bunch of other options to search from. Have you logged in here and you're on the home page?
I just searched.
Yeah,
I just went to
that's
content.
okay.
So this might have been what was.
Well, these are probably ones that are built in Edpuzzle themselves, but actually within Edpuzzle, and in a minute I'll open up and hopefully it'll look like it did for me this morning, but you should be able to actually click. It'll do it off of all sorts of those online streaming video sites where you can search within this, so it just is an easy drag and drop as well. So now let me get this back up. If you wanted to and you assign these, it'll create reports. You know, so just your usual thing here for it. So you've got different students, and it will show their score, whether they watched the video to the end. It gives them a check if they watched the end, and it gives their score for this. And so again, it'll spit out reports that you can actually work from, and you can export those as you see fit. And of course, I brought that one first here. The other one is the same thing, except for it shows the written responses, which you can't see, but a quick little walkthrough. So it'll spit out reports. And so again, I don't know how functional that is, because I tend to like to keep my assessment stuff in D2L, where I actually have to put it. But it'll do it for you, and it'll spit out a report, and you could print and save that. So it could be a helpful tool that way. So with that said, here's kind of the share. So if I go back in here and I want to assign or share, it comes up with some variety of options. And so again, you can just do a direct link, shoot it out as a blast. I can put a news announcement in D2L, follow this link, and they'll watch it right through there. Or you can an embedding code, and because there's an embedding code, my suspicion is, again, you'll embed it right on D2L, it'll work. It'll sit right in there, just and if you just have to go into the HTML and you copy and paste that whole thing, and it embeds the interactive Edpuzzle video, not the YouTube video, the Edpuzzle video, so that way they have to answer their questions as they go through.
So they go to that link, and then they get stopped along the way. They answer the questions. Those same questions could be in D2L. That, I guess that might mean them answering twice, so you can get that assessment on
Yes.
D2L.
Yep, absolutely. So there's ways you can play around it, but again, to me, the functionality of it is, there's a lot of times I like to show videos that are online, but I don't really want to spend any time doing anything with it except for add some questions. And so here, if I got a good video, just embed some questions and you're done. So nice and fast and quick, easy. You can get some reports from that. Okay, so now we're back here and you can actually see the screen, although it's pretty small. I'll zoom this in a bit. That's weird. So for some reason, showing it on a laptop works. If you need another workaround in the future, Nancy, go to the laptop. That seems to work, although I don't like zoomed in stuff. But we've got a couple here. This one, I guess I'll just show this video because this is one that I have several questions embedded in throughout so you can see how that functions. So I'm under my classes, but I want to go to content. So on there, you've got your classes where you can assign different things to the classes. Under content, it will show all the different videos you've got saved in there that include different questions embedded in them. We'll show this one for a minute. You can see once I hover over it, a couple of icons come up. This one is edit. You'll notice that it's grayed out. I can't do it because I've already assigned this one. So if I wanted to do something, what I have to do is I'd push over here, duplicate, it'll make me a new one. And then I can edit that. But once you assign it, it becomes like it's a finished product and you can no longer edit it. But you can just duplicate. So again, it's not like it actually causes a major problem for you. But either way, it's worth knowing. And then over here, you can actually click to watch it. So we'll watch this first one so you can just see how this works out. Okay, so we've got that set up. We'll do our volume. You'll get the sense here. So there's a video. At the beginning here, I had my little audio clip. That's this yellow thing. I'm going to fast forward to the end so you can see this because I'm watching this in preview mode. If you've never seen this video, highly entertaining. But I'll show the next one, which has videos that stop throughout it here. When you get to the end of this here, I've embedded a couple of videos, or questions, I'm sorry. And so when it reaches that question mark, it will stop the video. And then they'll have an opportunity to answer a question. Since I'm in preview mode, you don't actually see that here. I'll save, when we get over there, I think it's because I'm zoomed in. Let's zoom that back out. Okay, so on this one, for what it's worth, it's one of those ones I did one of those church classes. So if you're worried about Christianity or a religion of things, sorry, it was a debate. And this guy's answering questions, and he gets a good question that I thought was a really good one for us to talk about.
I want to point out firstly that you cannot prove the non-existence of a thing, and naturalists accept this. But the problem is, when you invoke God as an explanation for that, what you're doing is you're invoking something that is inherently inexplicable. Thereby, you're not solving the problem, you're not explaining anything, you're confounding the problem. You have more to explain. And I just want to ask you, do you think that invoking God as a hypothesis about natural things, or the origin of life, or the origin of the universe, I think that's an advancement to knowledge?
So again, here in this case, we were working on a little debate stuff, and so I stopped and I wanted to, first off, you get asked questions, it's weird, they're layered, they're loaded a lot of times. What the heck's asked? And so again, they can't go on until they answer this question. So quick little answer where they have to actually type it in. This one you can actually see, thanks we're not zoomed in so far. So they'd submit their thing here. I asked, what's the student, the question he asks, and how could you respond to a loaded question without accepting a premise that may not be true, because that's what he's going to do. So if I say submit, it says doesn't count. If I do skip, it will move on. But then it will record me a score of 0 because I didn't do it. So then here it kind of goes on, and again the same thing happens. You'll get a question.
Possible to prove the non-existence?
Impossible to prove something does not exist. That's silly. Of course you can prove something does not exist. We can prove, for example, that there are no living Tyrannosaurus Rex on the face of the earth. We can prove that there are no Muslims of the United States Senate. Or, as Dr. Shore says, if you can show that something is a self-contradiction, he's in the house. Yeah. You can show that something is self-contradictory, so there are no married bachelors. So this is an atheist line that you hear on a popular level all the time, but that sophisticated atheists don't take because it is easy to prove that things don't exist. Now,
So then pause again just to check for confirmation. Again, just so you can see some different examples. So it's got written ones there. You can do this with multiple choice. You can obviously add more than 2 items. I gave 2 here just to keep it simple. But a variety of things you can get, and we'll stop it right there. You get the idea from it there. But it stops each one of these different videos. They have to answer it before it will go on for that, or they can skip it, which then tells me at least they watched that point, but they get a score of 0 because there's no information recorded.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
So let's say I want to embed a question, and I'm assuming I need to make sure I stop the video exactly where I want it and put it there. What if I put it there and realize, oh, I really wish that happened 30 seconds earlier? Can I pick it up and move it while I'm still in editing mode?
Can you pick it up and move it? I think the answer is yes, but let's just check right now. What I do know is you can delete it very easily. You just click delete and you just add it in another spot. Okay. However, I think you might be able to drag it, and let's just try that right now. Well, we'll test it out. And this, my site is having issues here. Okay, let's go into one that we can edit. And so up here at the top, your options, your crop video, you can edit your different time length. Voiceover is if you want to add your own voiceover. And you can see here now, does mine have audio input? I don't know that it does. This may or may not work. But you'd click this, so if I push play here, and I'm going to say, all right, I want to add voiceovers for the entire audio, but audio notes, you can see here is where you can put inserts. So if you want a video but you want your own narration, it's a voiceover. You'd actually speak and it would actually cut out the audio entirely and just be you. So if you love a video but you say, I don't like what they're talking about, I'm going to be narrating it, you can change that with voiceover. I've never used that. You have to record the whole time because it goes over the whole thing. Yeah. Audio notes are where you just embed them. And as you can see down here, it's literally, this is all you do here. So let's push play here. I'll drag this over. Now if I push this, as soon as I push it, it stops where I'm at in the video. So it's not like you have to worry about staying up with it there. And actually it's recording me right now, so this is gonna be a really stupid insert. Awesome. And then we push play there and it kind of embeds that thing in there as we want it. You can see here's a couple up here that are already there, and once you want to get rid of them, all you do is push delete. Now let's see if we can move that. Yep. So I can put it wherever I want after I put them in. So once they're in there, you just drag them, move them across there, and you can put them wherever you want. We're not going to save this one because I just screwed it up. But you get the idea there. So you got the audio notes, and then the quizzes, as I mentioned here, if you want to embed quizzes, it'll make different pauses there, and you can put them where you want them. And over here you'll have your options. So you can see the different options are open-ended, where they'd write in their response to it there. You got your multiple choice one there. And then this one is basically, as far as I know, the same thing as this first one here. Got your question just to prod about, a response, comment that you can make, and questions. So there's the different things you can play with. And again, we get a chance here where it'll be kind of fun with that is once you have those videos you like, you can embed and just add these different things on them. And when you're done, you finish it. I'm not going to finish this one because I just told you I actually screwed up my video as I was playing with it to show it. So let's just go back home. And if I take my content and I want to assign one, we just go under my classes and we can assign down here. You can see it has the automatic connection with it there. But so let's see here. I want to assign my video. We'll find that in a moment. So anyway, hopefully you get the idea here that there's easy to play with because it's just right there, and all you do is embed these different things in it. So we'll turn it over to some playtime. Any other questions that we can showcase that are on here right away before we turn it over to playing?
I'm wondering about, so I'm thinking, we all have these different classes that we teach and different videos that we use under different circumstances, and I'm thinking, man, we shouldn't like reinvent the wheel. We should create a repository of some sources that, because like, for example, the math comedy, use that in teaching math pre-service teachers and how misconceptions are formed.
You
for
identify
example.
the misconception going on here. Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, the questions I would ask might be different than in another context. But for example, let's say I'm creating, I have another section of a course that I teach that someone else is going to teach. Mm-hmm. And so, sharing these resources, which doesn't necessarily go directly with creating these, but just thinking about what would be a good repository for us to think about.
I think it's definitely worth, especially maybe within programs. And obviously I think of that, where like you're talking about with your, if there's courses that multiple people teach, it'd be kind of cool. You could share some of those things and we could each leverage them so that maybe we have a better sense of what's going on or equivalents of assessments and actually be able to talk about the same
even
thing.
maybe creating within Edpuzzle, for example, like just an MTSU account that multiple people could go to and create and use.
Yep, it would certainly be very plausible. And again, just by building these classes, you could build classes that be related to that, whether it be programmatic or whatever. So it would be very workable. So cool.
I like that idea. Awesome. Let's play.
All right, playtime. Cool.